Okay, so here's a question. When you look at this young lady, what sorts of ideas do you have in mind? Maybe you're intimidated by the sharp pair of horns she has, or perhaps that staff looks kinda intimidating, if not very, very powerful. And deadly. Maybe that box contains some sort of illusion that goes on forever and ever and ever because you're stuck in a dream, never to be wake up again. Or perhaps you're captivated by her looks, and she has already got you in her palms. Your mind shackled by the lock she's carrying with her. You just cannot escape from her, ever. Every question you pose is not a question to be unsolved. But those questions don't even matter, after all, because she's single-handedly the most terrifying, the most gruesome, the most unforgiving, the deadliest being that has ever walked on Terra, that everyone would just perish upon catching strays of her gaze. Or perhaps she's just as silly as a durian on a sunny day.
You're so cute and funny.
Hello, my name is Pistana, and this is my summary on Nymph. Clear like hearts, true like reflections.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog.
Are you serious, bro?
Let us commence forth.
I mean, it's alright.
Well. Let's go gambling.
You should kill you.
Oh man, finally something.
That's too easy. Man, this has some pickup.
Eat shit and die.
I got you, fam!
You have exactly 3 seconds to explain why you just woke me up.
Kill yourself.
I'm back, baby.
Go away!
What did I do?
You better stop!
Go away!
No! Not this again.
Why won't you die? I am alive!
That was easy.
So, what are we dealing with here? I think I saw her somewhere.
おかえりなさい、先生。
Maybe not. Either way, she looks very cute and funny. I gotta admit that. Cute enough that I bit the bullet to try and get her early in this banner, only to be greeted with a Chinese snack and a Chinese furry.
Why do you even try?
But Nymph is back home. Even if my funds for Marcel is gone. Sorry, mate. I guess we have to start with this question. Who is Nymph? Reading through her files, it is stated that Nymph's home is from Kazdo, the country that harbors Sarkazes. And if you don't know already, Sarkaz are individuals that are neither ancients nor elders, and they are instead intelligent races to have ever walked on Terra. Notable examples include banshees, vampires, and Diablo. It should also be noted that Sarkaz stems from T-Kaz, not another name. T-Kaz is the bigger group that are also among the first Terran dwellers, but had chosen other methods to rebuild their homeland, making some races such as Durin, Oni, or Sancta the distant cousins of Sarkaz. Just to keep it short, they used to be the dominant races on Terra or Arknight's Earth, until, well, the alien race or predecessors came and conquered the landmass. Two notable predecessors are Priestess and the main character, which is us, the Doctor. But I'll just stop here for now. I don't feel like yapping about that. And to provide a bit more context, the Sarkaz people had always been suffering a lot, partly because of their high vulnerability to Originium, the disease that plagued Terra. You can treat it as rock AIDS. It basically works the same, but instead of lower immunity, your body slowly turns into a rock. They also get some discrimination from ancient and elder races, but mostly, they are suffering from the war and turmoil fueled by the conflict between the Sancta and the Sarkaz race that forced a large portion of them to become hired mercenaries, with the rest barely try to scrape by following the Great War. During Nymph's time, however, such tragedy was slowly being averted, and by the time Nymph made her first contact with Abia, Kazdo has become so prosperous from the money they earned from mercenary work, its citizens slowly transitioned back to a normal life. And following her chance meeting with Mudrock, this is where we are today, a meeting with Nymph, a descendant of the Dajao tribe. Am I reading right? My fun god. That's what I get for writing half-ass scripts. By the way, the Jal are one of the 10 surviving ancient pure-blooded Sarkaz tribes of the Sarkaz royal court, aka she's a special deal, and...
Great,
that's about
well,
it. Yeah.
I'm off to go kill myself.
Okay, moving on. Nymph is a playable character, and she belongs to the caster class, because we need more OP casters for the win. Her branch is Primal, which is identical to core casters down to the stats. However, they can also inflict elemental damage on the enemies with the skills and talents. I'm gonna be honest, barely anyone's gonna care about these little details unless they're min-maxing for integrated strategies difficulty 18 or contingency contracts max risk. Before Nymph, we have another primal caster called Diamante, but he's straight up so ass that I don't even want to talk about him. He's so ass he's dummy thick.
Damn, boy!
Nymph is a 6-star operator, and she's non-limited, meaning she can be obtained after her dedicated banner ranks through standard headhunting. She is now appearing in the current side story event, a Kazdelian Rescue. It's a relatively small side event, where you clear 8 normal operations with respective challenges, and 2 more secret operations, giving you a decent amount of Original Prams and other resources. These stages are not for farming though, as the drop rates are not really worth it to pour the sanity into. In my highest opinion, you can just clear everything for the POs and go back to your normal Dead Week grinding to get the currency that you can use in the shop. A Kazdelian Rescue is essentially the prologue to the upcoming 5th theme of Arknight's integrated strategies, a roguelike game mode where you can explore a dungeon through routes, as well as different endings depending on the choices you make along the line. There are 5 themes so far, with the first one being a past event that is now inaccessible, and 4 recurring themes which are available permanently. Going back to the operator, as a 6-star, Nymph's kit has 3 different skills, though you won't be utilizing all of them in a normal setting. Her first skill increases her attack stat, and attacks deal an additional 15% of arts damage as necrosis damage. That means you can build up the status in order to inflict necrosis. If said target is under the burst effect, meaning the necrosis status has been applied, she deals an additional 50% of attack as elemental damage. This is probably the least used skill out of all 3. Despite the attack buff and bonus necrosis application sounding very tempting, the damage output overall is still pretty low due to the fact that it only lets her target 1 enemy at a time instead of 2 targets simultaneously like in the third skill, or having a massive burst damage with AoE extra like the second skill. Funny for the memes, but not for the meta itself. Her second skill, which is the main moneymaker for Nymph users, deals a massive amount of attack as arts damage to the target and inflicts fear for 5 seconds, while also dealing an equal amount of arts as necrosis damage. If the target hit is under the burst effect, the damage dealt by Talon 1 increases to 100% of the attack stat. Usually, this is the first skill you want to work on if you're prepping for the new theme of IS, which we'll discuss in a bit. Furthermore, the AoE burst is exceptional, especially in situations where they demand crowd control capabilities. A very versatile tool for a not so uncommon problem. Warm light out of 10. Nymph's third skill increases her attack range, attack stat, and attack speed, while granting her the ability to attack 2 targets simultaneously. If the targets are under the burst effect, like the other 2, attacks deal elemental damage. Now, this is also another moneymaker if you wish to go toward the necrosis route, but only if you have Virtuosa and Logos if you wish to use it. Unlike the other 2, third skill does not build up the necrosis status, so without someone to proc like Virtuosa, you will not be able to fully take advantage of her third skill. I don't think you need to understand how this duo works, but I'll just explain it anyway. First, let's look at Virtuosa's third skill, but only the first half. It prevents her from attacking further, but it also increases her attack range, attack stat, and second talent effect to 2.5 times. And what is her second talent? Enemies within attack range take more necrosis damage. This also works in synergy with the first talent, which basically does the same thing. Remember though, that Virtuosa doesn't attack, so who's gonna fill up the status? That's right, the other one. With Nymph's third skill, any enemy under the necrosis burst effect also eats more elemental damage, putting another layer of damage on top of the already strong hits. Hopefully I didn't get anything wrong about it. Would be bad if I got called out as spreading misinformation. Much as you haters don't want to admit it, since the face looks funny enough, similar to OG Ayab and Logos, Nymph is rated as one of the good casters in the whole class, believe it or not. Personally, I think this is due to a few reasons. 1. Her role as a caster is very appreciated. As mentioned, primal subclass are very close to core casters, down to the stats. Core casters are known as the staple of Art Knights, with the lowest attack intervals and DP costs among other subclasses. It is even better thanks to the fact that they can also inflict elemental damage bursts, so a better deal. 2. Talking about the elemental damage she can do, it's probably one of the best deals you can get. As mentioned before, her elemental damage is necrosis. Necrosis damage is funny since based on the target it's inflicted on, there will be different effects. If it's from an enemy upon a friendly target, like a Sarkaz caster onto an operator, the victim is silenced as well as losing 1 SP and taking 100 arts damage every second for 15 seconds. If it's from an operator upon an enemy, like Virtuosa, Logos, Diamante, or Nymph, the victim is inflicted with 50% enfeeble that decays over 15 seconds, during which they also take 800 elemental damage every second. Enfeeble is just attack reduction to say the least. As an operator who can inflict necrosis, she would be fired to be deployed, but not without her companion of course, Virtuosa and Logos. Both have the ability to inflict necrosis through different means and requirements, but Virtuosa is more important in enabling Nymph to inflict necrosis status. Either way, Nymph needs some support to roll that decay out as much as possible, since she cannot do much on her own. This is also why I want to put a disclaimer that, unless you really love her design, if you don't already own the War Criminal, do not attempt for Nymph. You'll regret it. The third reason is really just a curveball, and it shouldn't matter for casual players because it's related to integrated strategies. However, if you want to get far into its new upcoming 5th theme, Sarkaz's Furnacite Fables, especially its 5th ending, rumored to be the hardest to achieve and clear in the history of this roguelike game mode, you only need to consider Nymph. Nymph has a unique ability in her second skill, and that is to inflict fear onto the enemies. And what is fear? It's a negative status only applicable on enemy mobs, and when an enemy has fear applied, it causes the victim to move away from the units that inflicts fear onto them. Pretty simple, right? But what does this have anything to do with IS5? Apparently, players in CN servers are gradually clearing the content as we speak, and a lot of the strats involve Nymph as a staller. Some bosses in IS are susceptible to the fear status, and you can use that to your advantage. By constantly blasting them with Nymph's second skill, which we have talked a bit ago, you can successfully apply fear on bosses, forcing them to trace their way back a bit and stall them for short periods before you're able to concentrate the damage enough to kill them. And all of this wouldn't matter if the operators that could provide fear weren't limited to Nymph and Lapland Altar only. So you're kinda running out of options. Of course, not every strategy involves Nymph, and rightfully so. Hippogriff isn't that heartless to prevent players from having a way out yet. But if most of the experienced players in China are doing this, safe to say, you might want to follow suit. Unless you're Kyo. Let's be real.
I do not
Why not?
wish to be happy anymore, guys. I just want to be horny.
You're also gonna ask, Pest, come on, you're just giving out all the good things. Where did all the bad sides go? Yeah, I got you. Despite being a seemingly good deal, and I gotta admit, it sounds too good to be true, there are already a few problems on the surface. Nymph, as an operator, is limited in what she can do on her own. Her damage and necrosis buildup is underwhelming, compared to someone like Logos, having better and more consistent damage output, while being supported by his module that gives him necrosis buildup. When getting the support from buffers and ritualists like Virtuosa, Nymph is a fantastic damage dealer, and even a lane holder, but on her own, she needs more work. A lot of us would also be more tempted to roll for her if she was a limited character, but that would be unfair for doctors who are saving for Lapland, right? A small detail, but plays a not so small role in determining whether or not a character is favored. It encourages you to save up and aim for a spook later down the line though. Another important aspect to consider is how much you're using her in the general content, and the answer is just like any other. It's probably redundant to mention this, because the general content is so easy, you can literally clear it with your team having most of the 3 stars that has existed in this game since launch. You just need to do more micromanagement, but it's not impossible. With this as a benchmark, players aim more toward how fast you can clear the events, story chapters, or just normal grinding stages during the dead weeks. That means you want strong DPS who can hit hard and fast. With Sato, Melina, Surtur, the big names. Then you have the operators who help out at the backline. For example, fast redeploy specialists like Yato or Texalter can be utilized to clear weak mobs quickly to clean things up. Or Barts can help with a stat buff, enabling a faster clearing time. For someone like Nymph, she doesn't belong to the support crew, so she's a DPS. And her solo damage output, going back to the first point, despite being decent, is not OP. This is why I think she's not the first pick over other DPS that has existed in this game, and is one of the disadvantages that Nymph users may suffer from. Now you know how she works, what worth she has, and why she's worth the trouble. It's time for the million-dollar question. Should you get Nymph? Before I say anything further, just to put it out there so we don't have to come back for it later. If your goal is to follow your trunks, meaning you pull for whoever you find attractive, All of this doesn't matter. Just go for it. Even though there's also the argument of whether or not you want to pull for a non-limited character right now or wait for the standard banner. But that's not the topic today. In my personal opinion, it kinda depends on what you want to do moving forward. We are getting a new IS theme anyway. A Dungeon Meshi collab, kinda nice. Vina Outer, Lapland Outer, Thorns Outer, Blaze Outer. And we also get the latest contingency contract that is happening in the CN server right now. Rumored to be one of the hardest rotations this game has ever witnessed. With this somewhat completed roadmap, Nymph is standing at a good spot in IS new theme as a must-have. For other content, she's kinda okay, but not necessary. I believe Nymph is a decent operator, I really do, but I cannot justify calling her a meta character. For someone to be meta, they have to get on the levels past Logos or even Walter, the two operators that have actually raised the meta benchmark. Even though her 2-kill is unique, saving up later for Lapland Outer will probably give you more value in the long run. After all, she's a better Golden Glow, am I right? Jokes aside, they do different things, and we are not doing this shit right now. If you haven't owned Virtuosa already, Nymph's ceiling is even further lowered, as his Necrosis application isn't consistent, especially with S3 not having the ability to build up the status at all. So this is another thing you need to consider. Overall, I can safely say that she's decent, but not mandatory. And there are quite a few things to consider before you empty your wallet. Oh yeah, final point. There's also a comparison between Logos and Nymph on who's the better caster. I don't like making these comparisons even though they're in the same class because it's kinda pointless, like you just use whoever you like, right? But for this one, I will borrow Skio's video as a demonstration. You should check out his vids more, he does a lot of in-depth analysis. For this part, Patriot is used as a benchmark. When faced alone, Logos clearly has a better performance, with his mod giving him the ability to stack up Necrosis, of course, and dealing burst damage. For the case with Virtuosa around, however, Nymph managed to catch up with the kill, even though it still took her a bit longer. I don't really understand anything based on this though, so here's his comment. Apparently, Logos definitely has better cycle, range, and number of targets he can hit. So he will be better at crowd control. But if you happen to run into a single enemy with a massive resistance stat, pair her with Virtuosa, and she'll be better overall. Multi-targets versus single target is what I can conclude from this little experiment. Only matters if you have both though, so don't sweat if Logos is not in your roster yet. So that's about it for this video. I was planning for it to be short, but I didn't expect the yapping would be this crazy. If you have watched until this part, you're cool as fuck. These videos won't be too frequent, because I ain't writing no more motherfucking scripts just for them to be skipped over. So if you really want more of this, let me know in the comments. I'm serious though, a lot of these videos take a lot of time and effort. That's why I embrace and appreciate the household names like Kyo, Ekogen, and Oyuki channel for being so consistent and based with the stuff. I hope you're keeping yourself warm for the spring. I'ma head out, expect more to come. This is Pestana, logging up. Good night, Terra.